This is the Royals Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Kansas City Royals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to the Royals Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chance Liebau, back here in the saddle once again. Took a little 2-day break for some full-time work. I am back for the time being, and I'm here to bring you reaction to every single Royals game the rest of the way. You can follow me on Twitter at Chance Liebau. That's right here on the video live stream. And if you're not here live, don't worry. These episodes will be uploaded for you to listen to on demand or wherever you get your podcast. Thank you all for making the Locked On Royals podcast or Royals Postcast your first listen of the day. Before we get started, remember to subscribe to the channel, turn on our notifications so that you get an alert whenever we go live. Thank you so much for joining the show. Feel free to join the live chat and let me know your thoughts on the game, and I'm going to do my best to get to the comments because I have a feeling there are going to be some good comments tonight. The Royals seem to only win when Jack is hosting these, but tonight I'm back and want to say from myself and from also Jack, thank you guys so much. Up to 3,300 followers on the YouTube page. So thank you guys so much for continuing to support myself, Jack, and the entire Locked On podcast crew for your support here on the channel. Let's get right into it. Let's get into what you'll be talking about.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Jac Caglianone, right? I mean, what else is there even to say? It's so funny. I am getting so jealous of Jack Johnson, who hosts our regular podcast here on the Locked On Royals channel. And also he's my fill-in guy when I have to tend to my full-time job. You know, I was down in Frisco in Texas. I wasn't even able to watch the two games the last two nights. Tonight, I was listening to the first 6 innings, got a chance to watch the last 3. So I'm kind of out of the loop right now. But the one thing I do know is Jac Caglianone only goes yard when there's the possibility of Jack Johnson hosting the show. And I'm a little bit jealous of that. But Jac Caglianone tonight, he got to show you exactly what you expect from him. And while he struck out in the first AB, they were not even close. I was watching on my phone. I was watching the game day feed. Not even close. Takes 3 pitches. And you know, there are a lot of high school baseball coaches out there that I'm sure are really PO'd that he took 3 pitches without a swing and struck out looking. But I like the approach from Jac Caglianone. He's been too aggressive. And that first at-bat, even though he struck out looking, step in the right direction. And you have to take baby steps with a literal baby in terms of his reputation as a big league ball player. So you have to be careful with him and his approach to the plate. He had a good approach coming into tonight and absolutely tees off, driver box par 5, and he sends one over to the catering section at the Quick Trip drink station, or whatever you call it, the new Pepsi party porch. He takes a ball where not a lot of people have taken one here in recent memory, since StatCast has been involved. That is one of the longest home runs in Royals Kauffman Stadium history. I remember sitting in the Pepsi party porch when it was the Pepsi party porch, and we were like, they were going to hit a ball over the batter's eye, and they're like, no, nobody has enough power on this team to do that. Fast forward about 8 years from that point, we got a guy. Royals have a guy with some real pop. And while he didn't have the best game at the plate, finishes 1 for 4 with 2 punchies. I'm okay with the approaches he had at the plate. He had some good swings. And like I said, I was listening to the first 6 innings. I wasn't able to watch the first 6 innings. I was listening to it on my way back from Frisco. So I was tuned into the game, but I just didn't have the visuals except for what I was seeing on social media and the game day feed. I like the approach. He was more patient today, trying to move runners over, do the unselfish thing. But Jac Caglianone is kind of gaining some confidence. That swagger's back. You know, I saw the clip last night in the locker room scrum, and you know, saying what was it? Trying to put sweat in a bathtub or something like that. You know, just the energy since the road trip in Seattle. We talked about it. The last time I talked to you, they just wrapped up a winning road trip, and we said this could put them in a positive direction going forward. This could push them into a good vibes heading into the All-Star break. Jack and I are both on the board of they're going to make a move before the All-Star break, if not like the day before the game. I think that tomorrow I'm going to be co-hosting or Jack is going to have me on as a guest. It's kind of going to be a co-hosting thing. But it would not surprise me at all if we are breaking news or if we are giving our reaction to news of the Royals making a pretty, I don't want to say substantial, massive trade, but it wouldn't surprise me if tomorrow we see the Royals make a move because they need pitching. With the depth kind of waning in AAA, they still need an extra bat. The bottom of the lineup did enough tonight. I mean, you get 2 hits out of the Furminator, both doubles. He walked as well. You didn't get anything out of Tyler Tolbert. I think he's done. I think that's the last time we see Tyler Tolbert this year. But I still am on board with, I think they make a move tomorrow. You sweep the Pirates and the vibes are at an all-time high. I think you have to capitalize on the positive momentum and saying, we might trade Seth Lugo and get some major league talent back in return. But folks, they are trying to, I don't want to say they're trying to contend, but this is a team that I'm pulling up the standings right now. You got to be patient with me here. But the last time I checked the standings, they were still 6.5 games out of a wild card. Right now they are, I wait for my Wi-Fi to load. They are 3 games out of a wild card spot because the Mariners aren't doing much. The Red Sox have won 6 in a row, so you're kind of chasing a car that's speeding up. But they're going to make a move here before the All-Star break to add a piece to this lineup to say, okay, we'll make a small addition. It's not going to be Brian Reynolds. He's not staying in Kansas City over the week. But they're going to make a small move to add a 7, 8, 9 bat. Somewhere that you can add a piece to that lineup, give Jac Caglianone some protection and extend the depth of the lineup. You're going to add a piece there that not only helps you in 25, but also 26. And you're going to see, okay, how much does that help us? Does that put us in a position where Seth Lugo is more valuable to us than he is to someone else? Or is this kind of going to help us tread water for a couple weeks? We're still 5 games out of the wild card spot. We're 3, 4 games under 500. We'll trade Seth Lugo, but we're still looking for 2026 help. That is the idea that I see them doing and heading into either today, tomorrow. Northern Missouri Outdoors brings up Kyle Stowers. I tend to think it's going to be more along. Paul DeYoung's a bad comp for this because of the fact that he was a rental. But a guy like Paul DeYoung, who's bottom of the order, not a middle of the lineup bat, I think a righty. I think they're going to bring in a righty, but somebody that can help contribute this year and next year. A name that we're not really talking about because we didn't really have any eyes on Paul DeYoung at this point last year. So one of our commenters said Marlins have to be the team where we look for a trade, right? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know who they're going to talk to. They could go out. I think that they could go out and they could talk to the A's. They could talk to the White Sox. They are not, too far. They're not going to not do business with the White Sox because they're in the division. I mean, hell, you might even be able to say, hey, Tommy Pham, you remember that locker you had last year? You can stay there and you can come help us out this year. So I start to get a feeling that they're going to capitalize. They're going to make a move here very, very soon. If not tomorrow, maybe Friday. And then if not Friday, maybe we're talking about Saturday as the Royals make a move to help push this team closer to I don't want to say a pennant chase, but closer to a wild card spot, because Bobby Witt Jr. doesn't come around every Major League Baseball draft. He's not walking through the door of any other 30 Major League franchises, any of the other 29. So you have to take advantage of number 7 being in a powder blue uniform for the longevity of his contract. You have to capitalize on having one of the top 5 players in Major League Baseball on your roster, whether you like it or not. This has to be a conversation of, okay, we're good right now. We're hot. How can we get better and extend the depth of this lineup while not costing an arm and a leg in our farm system that is pretty thin already? All right, when we come back, we'll talk about Salvi. His defense was on display tonight. He hit the big go-ahead home run. I'll kind of talk about him, what we've seen from him in the last month or so, and if that's what we can count on going forward. That's coming up next here on the Royals Postcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? No, you called the next one. That's why having a reliable business line is so important, and that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. Did you juggle 2 phones just to keep business and personal calls separate? OpenPhone solved that instantly. OpenPhone is offering Locked On Royals listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlb. That's openphone.com/lockedonmlb. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. And also want to talk to you about FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburnt at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet right into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm part of the action. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. How about this renaissance of Salvador Perez at the plate? I don't think any of us saw this coming. I was a kind of a pessimist heading into, I think it was the Cardinals series when he was really struggling. Things were not going his way. I think it was the first week we had the postcast. I was kind of out on Salvi. This is the last year he's in Kansas City. You can't bring him back as your DH next year. You've already got spots kind of reserved. Jack is a first baseman. Vinny's a first baseman. You're going to have catchers coming up that need ABs. So I was kind of on the boat of Salvi's not coming back next year. You can't bring Salvi back, especially at a high number that Salvi is going to demand, just because of his name and also because of what he is able to do when he's on. In this series, we've seen exactly what Salvi can do when he's on. I mean, he is quietly, and I saw this today, he's quietly 3rd in the American League in doubles. And that is a massive, massive piece of what Salvi brings to the table. He's finally over 0 WAR. He was in the negative threshold in WAR because he wasn't good defensively and he wasn't hitting, he wasn't walking. So he had a lot going against him as a player early in the season. And now, it's kind of like what we saw with the Rockies series when the Royals kind of got hot. When Salvi kind of got dinged a little bit and they forced him not to catch, which they've been doing for the past week and change, things work out. So I would not be surprised, and I don't know if this is just being an overreaction, but I would not be surprised if Salvi catches very rarely going forward and we see Luke Mailey stay on the roster as that emergency catcher, because the pitching's been better, because they trust Freddie behind the plate. He's an elite defensive catcher. Salvi's much improved at first base. His numbers are better when he plays first base. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see Salvi catch a lot less than what we're used to seeing from Salvador Perez, because he obviously is kind of running on fumes right now. And I think that they want to extend however long he plays in the majors. And as does he. He wants to be here for a long time as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're like, hey, maybe we catch him a few times, once a week on a night game, and we get Freddie a day off or we get Mailey a day off. But at some point, the conversation is going to be had, and Salvi's playing much better when he's DH and when he's playing first. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I'll just say that. I don't think it's a coincidence. So I'm very happy with what the offense was able to do tonight. They only had one crooked number all night. They were able to, Bubic kind of fell apart there at the end. Like I said, I wasn't watching. I didn't get back till the 7th inning. So I was kind of just watching and listening. And it didn't sound like he was just hitting. He was hitting his spots. The Pirates were just finding holes in the outfield, finding grass, finding blades of grass. So you have to give credit where credit's due when a team makes plays like that. And, I didn't get to see much of Bubic today. I think that this is kind of who he is as a pitcher. 5 2/3, 6 strikeouts, 3 earned runs. He's not going to be the pitcher we saw from him in May and in April and May. I think that's a small sample size that we shouldn't judge him for long term. I'm going to get to some of the comments because, guys, I missed you guys. 2 days without this, and then tomorrow I get the day off in terms of doing this. So I missed you guys. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Abito, thank you for the kind words. It is good to be back. One of our commenters saying a week ago I would not have said we have been -2 as of now. Great night. It is a great night. Gary saying Vance Wilson not sending Cags home was special. Pham has no arm despite being in place to make sensational recovery catches. Still a great win. I was watching at that time and I did think that, why aren't you sending Cags there? Especially when you have, the bottom of the lineup coming up with Isbell. I think they put a little bit too much faith in Isbell as a hitter. But you don't want to get the future of the franchise, your 1B to 1A, which is Bobby Witt Jr. You don't want him to blow out a knee trying to slide around a catcher. You also have Lucas Ursig in the back of your bullpen, a healthy, rested bullpen. I can see fighting for tomorrow with that. But I agree with you very much, Gary. Not sending him home, I agree it was a questionable call at the time, but here we are with a sweep in our hands, and we get to feel a little bit better about it. Caleb asking, is Salvi the greatest Royal when it's all said and done? Brett was a better ball player, but Salvi is such an icon and so beloved. Man, that's a great question. I'd say he's probably top 3 for sure. I think 13 is going to never be worn again. But I don't know if I could, I don't think Salvi's going to be in the MLB Hall of Fame. George Brett was a shoo-in. Salvi, the peaks are really high, but the lows are really low. I like Salvi. I love Salvi. He's brought so much history to this Royals franchise that we haven't seen before. I love him to death, but he's not George Brett. And you could probably argue, Frank Wilson's up there as well. There are some guys that I would put above Salvi, but I would have him absolutely on the Mount Rushmore of Royals. I think that he's going to have his number retired when all is said and done. And playing for some really bad Royals teams, continuing to stick with the team, those are things that Salvi has going for him that is not going to be in what they call the black ink when is all said and done. We remember our memories of Salvi are going to be a lot better than what the baseball reference page is going to say in that regard. So appreciate the comment, Gary. Continuing to look at these. There are a lot of comments. I really appreciate you guys being in here. Elizabeth saying, not long ago, people wanted to get rid of Salvi. I was one of those people. I don't know if I'd say I'd get rid of him. I was kind of done with him. But I was one of those people, and like I've been wrong on this show before. I love it when I'm negative on players and they prove me wrong, because at the end of the day, the Royals win. Continue to look through here. Shane saying go big and get Stowers, Edwards, and Cabrera from Miami, or get Cowser and Westberg from the O's. That would be really expensive. You're going to have to give up Carter Jensen, Ben Kudrna. That's going to be expensive, and I think that's a little bit more on the fantasy side, but I think those guys would all really help the Royals. Caden saying Garcia from the Rangers or Tommy Pham. I'd like either of those. Not a huge fan of Adolis Garcia just because he's a power-only bat in a stadium that does not hold that holds in a lot of power hitters. So I don't know if Adolis Garcia is the answer, but I do like Tommy Pham. Bring him back. I think he's a guy that the clubhouse liked having last year, and they have sorely missed a veteran like him in that clubhouse. It's a very young clubhouse other than Salvi right now, and, of course, Mark Canha. But ever since they let Renfroe go, it's been a really young clubhouse. I'd love to have Tommy Pham back for that leadership and a guy that isn't afraid to step over the line when it comes to defending his teammates. So great comment regarding Royals trade targets. A lot of these questions, great questions for Jack in his mailbag. He is going to love these. He's going to love having some positive questions going into his mailbag episode. Trying to get through here. This DJ saying this is the best possible lineup this year. Just place Tolbert with Isbell. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. They put the best 9 out there, and I think that's going to be something they look forward to. Northern Missouri Outdoors, this lineup can make the World Series if they hit like they did this series. You also have to remember they're facing the Pirates, who are the second worst team in the National League. The pitching staff got to pitch against one of the worst hitting teams in the entire Major League. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. Great for momentum, great for content. We love the Royals winning, but we also have to pump the brakes a little bit. The Mets are coming to town. Mets are a team that has traditionally had some success against the Royals. We've got an expensive roster. It's going to be some fun pitching matchups. Hopefully the Royals are able to make a move heading into this series. But I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you guys for being there for Jack when he was battling through some technical difficulties. I know it was a challenge for him on Monday, but we'll be back on Friday, Royals with a series opener against the Mets. I'll be on the show tomorrow with Jack. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I'm looking forward to it because I always love talking ball with Jack Johnson. Don't forget, like, subscribe to the channel. Get us up. We're at 3,300 right now. I appreciate you guys for that. If we could continue to hit that subscribe button, get those numbers up, we'd really appreciate it. I know Jack says thank you, and I'm saying it for Jack. So appreciate you guys. We will see you on Friday for another edition of the Royals Postcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network.